Hey, what's up guys? I'm TPV Robinizer, and today I'm bringing you guys a bit of a different video. I am bringing you guys how to make a Pokemon draft plan. Not how to draft, how to make a plan. So, in every league you're in, you're gonna at least, you don't need a draft plan, but it is gonna help you a lot with picking up mons that you want to use and knowing like what your team is going to end up like, instead of just seeing, hey, I'm going to get a couple mons I like, then just on the fly build around it. Instead, you're going to know what your team's going to be like. This video does not necessarily pertain to points draft. It does, in the way that you need the same like Pokemon, like you need the same roles. However, choosing when you want to pick up a Pokemon and which Pokemon like you're going to be getting because of something being overpriced or something is not gonna be covered in this video. It might in another one, a more complex video, but this is just gonna be how to make a basic draft plan, and I'm gonna make a sample draft plan to go along with it. So this is our checklist that we're gonna have on the side of the video the whole time. We are going to have removal, clerics, hazard setters, priority, pivots, wall breakers, sweepers, and revenge killers. Now, depending on what you draft, you might not need as much of this. Like, you might need different amounts, but typically you want at least 2 removal, 1 being rapid spin. If you don't have any spinners, you might want a third, or just a third even if you do have rapid spinners, depending if your team is very rocks weak. Clerics, you typically want 1 wish passer and 1 heal beller. The more you get, the better. But you don't need more than like 2 wish passers. You know, it's not necessary. Hazard setters, you need rocks. You want multiple mons that set up rocks. Maybe some spikes and T-spike setters, or maybe even a sticky web setter. That is up to you. Priority. It's pretty important to have at least 1 or 2 mons with priority. If your draft ends up being really fast, you might not need it as much, but it's always great to have. Pivots, you're going to want like 2 defensive pivots at least, you know. Things that can come in, take a hit, and threaten things out. Wall breakers, you need at least 1 or 2 solid wall breakers, because the more wall breakers you have, the harder it is for your opponent to wall your team. And you can make the game go more towards your style. Sweepers, you only like need 1, but the more you have, the better, because your opponent has to prep for more and more sweepers, which is very hard to do. Revenge killers, you want at least 1 solid revenge killer that can just come in after your mon dies and threaten stuff and do a lot of damage. So let's move on. So the first thing you're going to want to do is pick a mon you want to build around. And this sample draft plan is going to be Kyurem Black. So pick a tier 1 Pokemon. It does not need to be your first round pick. So in the bottom left, I used the example Mega Beedrill. Mega Beedrill is not a first round pick. You're going to pick that maybe 4th, 5th, even later, because not many Mega Beedrill is not really too sought after, and it is a Mega. So it does not have to be your first round pick, but it should be a mon that you can easily build around and will check some of the major boxes, which is pivot to revenge killer. And so we're going to build around Kyurem Black. So this mon is a terrifying wall breaker, and it is dragon type, which means we can start building a Fairy Dragon Steel core. Having at least 1 of the Fairy Dragon Steel or Firewater Grass core is very useful. If you can get both, better. That's great. But you need at least 1, and you should get, even if you get a Firewater Grass core, you should get a Fairy type no matter what. even if you don't build a core, and steel types are very useful. Basically, they're all useful types that work well together. So, Kyurem Black. This will give us a wall breaker, and it is a great example of a tier 1 Pokemon. And we are going to be, in our sample draft plan, we're drafting this first round. However, you do not have to build around a Pokemon that is going to be your first round pick. You can choose your first round pick to synergize well with your next Pokemon. So, keeping up with the Mega Beedrill example, you might pick Koko as your first round pick so that you can get a good Volt Turn core and speed onto your team. But we got Kyurem Black, and it is going to be our wall breaker. So we're going to hop on the Fairy Dragon Steel core, and we're going to pick up our Fairy next, and that is going to be Sylveon. Sylveon is a great wall breaker, and it is a cleric. It gets Wish and Heal Bell, and it is a good pivot. You know, you can use Baton Pass, or you can just bring it in to tank a hit and then threaten stuff out with Hyper Voice. And it synergizes very well with Kyurem. But in general, you want your next Mon on the draft plan to synergize well with your first Mon. So this might be like going with Mega Beedrill. This might be Tapu Koko. You pick your Mega Beedrill as the first Mon in your draft plan, and then Sylveon, or not Sylveon, Tapu Koko as your next Mon on the draft plan and your first round pick. On the bottom of the screen, you will see the draft order that it's in, and you'll also see the team as it progresses. And you'll see at the fourth pick, or the fourth Mon, that we will be going out of order for quite a few of the Pokemon. So, but for these first three, we're doing our first three picks. So Sylveon's second pick, great wall breaker, great pivot, and it's cleric. And synergizes well with Kyurem. So, next up is Scissor. We finished our Fairy Dragon Steel core, and Scissor is very threatening. You're not going to get Mega Scissor third round. That is pretty unrealistic. You might not even get normal Scissor third round, but this is a great Pokemon. It has Defog. It's got Priority Bullet Punch, which is great. It gets U-turn, and solid wall breaker, and it can be a Swords Dance sweeper. Great Pokemon, especially in League. So this would finish our Fairy Dragon Steel core, and it is quite threatening. And what we'll notice with this Fairy Dragon Steel core is because our dragon is also Ice type, it is weak to fire. We don't have any resist, and we have one Mon that is 4 times weak to it. So we're going to want to patch that up. And yeah, that's going to be our main core. And this is going to be our main offensive core that we build around. So next up, our fourth Mon is where we're going to go out of order. Our fourth Mon is going to be our 12th round pick, and that is Kare Acosta. This is our 12th round pick. It is often undrafted in like every league, but this Mon, it 4 times resists fire. It's a terrifying Shell Smash sweeper. It gets priority Aqua Jet. It gets Stealth Rock, and overall, I think it's a very underrated Pokemon, but we're just using this as a sample draft plan. So this would be our 12th round pick, and we want this because it is a fantastic fire resist for this for this core. It's a fantastic fire resist, and it's somewhat versatile. It can be defensive or a Shell Smash sweeper, and it gets both Solid Rock and Sturdy. So it has 2 great abilities that it can take advantage of. And it also is the start to a Fire Water Grass core, and a bit of a defensive one. But the 4th Mon on our draft plan, and it will be our 12th round pick. So yeah, well, you'll notice in these boxes, we still are missing a Revenge Killer, and we could use more removal and hazard setters for sure. But those will get checked as we go on. And you may also notice we have 2 Mons weak to fighting and then 1 resist, so we kind of got another weakness going that we might need to patch up. So, next up is going to be our 4th round pick, and it is Gengar, because looking at our team, we don't have very good speed tiers. Gengar it's been dropping late in drafts because it no longer has Levitate, so it is pretty safe to say we can get it 4th round. And it gives us a solid revenge killer that we kind of needed. And it gives us a revenge killer and a speed tier we needed, as well as multiple types and a fighting immunity. And if they have Scrappy, it is a fighting resist. So, good against fighting types, good speed tier, good revenge killer. It works very well with our offensive core and gives us a new speed tier because the team was looking pretty slow. And now we're back in order. This is our 4th round pick. The next one will be our 5th round pick. And what I see right now is we have Kyurem, which is weak to rocks, and our removal is Defog Scissor, which wants to be ran Banded or Swords Dance most of the time. So we don't really want Defog. However, we can use Defog, but we want new removal. And a type we're missing is ground types. And ground types are very important, so your opponent just doesn't run Volt Switch on every mon and then win. So we're going to pick up Donphan, 5th round Donphan. Maybe a little early, in some leagues a little late. Just note that in different leagues, different mons will go earlier than they normally would, or later, because people have preferences for mons. So if you know who you're drafting against, it may be helpful to know it may be helpful when building your draft plan, because you'll know when certain mons might go and if they might go earlier or later than normal. So if you can wait on a certain Pokemon, or you have to get a certain Pokemon early. But Donphan gives us a great removal in Rapid Spin. It gives us another Hazard Setter, which we only had in Kare Acosta, and Kare Acosta is not a mon we want to bring every week. And it gave us priority in Ice Shard, and it sort of gives us the pivot, because this thing can take a lot of physical hits and dish out a ton of damage, and it has great coverage. So this is the next mon on our draft plan. It's here to spin away, so Scissor doesn't have to defog, and now we can pick up another mon that is probably Rocks weak later on, and we now have everything checked off, and we have enough of everything except for revenge killers. But yeah, so mid-draft, you can do this literally whenever you want in the draft, but we're just going to do it halfway through. You want to look at what your team's weak to, what your team resists, because that way you can see, oh, I don't want to pick up another mon that is weak to this, and I can pick up a mon that is weak to this, because you might have multiple resists of it. And you want to look at your roles. You want to see if you have too many physical attackers and not enough special attackers. You want to maybe get more of the one you have less of, because your opponent can just they can see, oh, he only has one special attacker, I don't have to bring a special wall. And you also want to look at how many walls you have, because if your team's not bulky enough, you're going to want to draft just a solid wall or more bulky offense Pokemon. So we don't really have walls. Donphan, it's more of a tank, as well with Kare Acosta, but they can both function as walls. So that's why I put one to two walls. But they both function as walls or tanks. And the same can be said for Sylveon. Sylveon can be a wall or a tank. And even the same can be said with Scissor, or maybe even Kyurem, because they are so bulky. So our team's looking to be bulky offense. So that means we want to pick up a bit more speed, and maybe either just maybe some sort of suicide revenge killer, something like that, or something just to make it more balanced. And this draft plan is obviously for a balanced play style. You can go more of a hyper offense play style. However, you're gonna wanna make sure you still have these things checked off. Yeah. So with this draft's speed tiers, we don't have many fast mons. We have Gengar at 110, and let me just go over these speed tiers. So base 60 is solid, so that your opponent won't bring like base 75 Pokemon, bring certain Pokemon and bring them adamant. Let's say they have Emboar, who is base 65. You want a base 60 so he doesn't run an adamant Emboar and just mess with your day. Speed tiers are all about outspeeding your opponent and making it so your opponent has to run Timid or Jolly to outspeed your team. So, yeah, 130 and above is nice to have. You don't need it. They'll usually outspeed your opponents, like maybe even their entire team. 120, it's just a solid speed tier again, because a lot of drafts, and I think not including this one, a lot of drafts in the end might have base 115 as their fastest Pokemon. So if you have a base 120, you can take advantage of that. Base 115, nice to have to outspeed base 110s, and overall, you're just going to see you want these speed tiers to be able to outspeed mons that are 1 under it, or force mons that are 1 over it to run Jolly and Timid. And right now, our team, it could use a base 100, it could use something over base 110, and we could use a base 80-ish. A lot of the other speed tiers are just useful to have, you don't need them. And looking at the weaknesses and resistances, we have 3 mons that resist bug and nothing that's weak to it, 3 mons that resist grass and 1 that's weak to it, so we could pick up like things that are weak to that and be fine. We have 2 mons that are weak to steel, and then I believe 1 resists 1, I think 1 or 2. And then we have 1 rock weakness with no resist and 1 ghost weakness with no resist. So, what we're going to want to do is possibly pick up a dark type, because it's weak to bug, which we're fine with, and it resists ghost. So we can take pressure off of Gengar and have a switch in. And so we're going to be looking for a dark type, and that is going to be Zoroark. Zoroark, it gives us a speed tier we didn't have, which is 105. We can put this at about 8th or maybe even 9th in the draft plan, because this is a mon that often goes undrafted, and it's not that bad. In my opinion, it's very underrated. But objectively, in this draft plan, it gives us a new speed tier, and a dark type is very useful. So this mon, it gives us priority and sucker punch. It gives us Volt Turn. It's a solid revenge killer as well, and it can set up SD or Nasty Plot. So overall, it is very it's pretty useful for our team. It checks a lot. This mon in general checks a lot of boxes, and with our team's weaknesses, it is very useful to have. But yeah, and another reason I wanted to put this in the draft plan was so I could talk about something that'll probably be in a part 2 video, is mons that have a specific niche. Zoroark has Illusion, and it has a specific niche for that. There's no other Pokemon that has Illusion, and if you want Illusion really badly, then you're probably going to have to overvalue Zoroark, and you're going to have to suffer because of it. So you may need to get this if you need Illusion around 6 or 7, a bit earlier than you probably should, but it guarantees that you get this Pokemon because if you get sniped, there are no replacements. And yeah, that's the thing about Pokemon that have specific niches. And also, you should, just a quick tip, you should build multiple draft plans, depending on what your place is in the draft. Because, like, if Kyurem Black for this draft plan gets sniped, then, you know, why even have this draft plan? You know, you don't have a draft plan anymore, you're screwed. So you're probably going to want to make multiple draft plans. So, I think we can move on now. Our next mon is not going to be in order again. We're going to save our 6th round pick till later, and it is going to be Rotom Mow. It gives us 2 typings we didn't have, and another part to our Fire, Water, Grass core. This mon, it technically gives us priority in Sucker Punch, but we're not going to use that. It gives us another pivot. It's a great defensive pivot, and it gives us another wall breaker, more so than other Rotom forms. Because Rotom Mow and Rotom Heat have Overheat and Leaf Storm, which gives them the capability to run like Scarf or Specs and just do a ton of damage, more so than other Rotom forms. So we're going to classify this as an also potential wall breaker. And yeah, we got Rotom Mow. Rotom forms are very good in League, in my opinion. They have great typings, and they give you an electric type and another pivot, and then the additional second type, like for this one, grass. So yeah, we get another part in our Fire, Water, Grass core, and we checked a couple boxes, and we got another bulky offense Pokemon. So our team is quite bulky, and we don't have a wall yet. We're gonna get one eventually, and we still don't have that. Well, we sort of do. We have Zoroark. We need more just straight offense Pokemon and straight defense Pokemon. A lot of these are very bulky offense. So next up, well, let's just see. I can't really remember what the next one is. It's either one or the other. Miltank. So here's our defensive Pokemon. It gives us a fat Pokemon that is immune to Ghost, so don't need to worry about that with Gengar. It's got thick fat, so it can resist ice and fire, which we got. We just picked up Rotom, which is weak to, and we have Scissor, which is weak to fire. And it gives us another Hazard Setter and Cleric with Heal Bell, and it sort of gives us a pivot because it's not weak, and it has decent coverage. You know, you can run Earthquake on it. You can threaten things out with the Body Slam Paralysis. So we're gonna be getting this mon 10th round. It is again with some of the other mons, it's often overlooked in League, and it's quite good. And yeah, you can just pick this thing up and be fine. It gives us that fat mon that we need. We're gonna pick up another one because it'll be nice to have just one more really fat mon that can tank any hit instead of just, you know, taking one hit and then hitting back with things like Sylveon and Scissor. But we're gonna pick that up later. Right now, we need that mon that is base 120 or faster, and that is gonna be our next pick. And it is going to be Talonflame. So Talonflame gives us the speed tier that we needed. It gives us a solid revenge killer, which we have. We have Gengar and we have Zoroark, but it gives us one that is faster, and yeah, it's faster and it's quite good. So we get another revenge killer. We get another potential sweeper with Swords Dance, and we get another potential wall breaker with things like Banded, Flare Blitz, and Brave Bird. And it gives us Volt Turn, and it gives us priority. It's overall, with the Gale Wings nerf, it is not as good on ladder, but I think it's still decent in League, and we can pick this up 8th round or ninth round. So we get a new speed tier we didn't have late on in the draft, and overall, it's just pretty solid. We just want this because it gives us the new speed tier. It finishes our Fire, Water, Grass core and gives us a type we did not have, 2 types we did not have, and we have Donphan with Rapid Spin to support the Rock's weakness, and yeah, let's just solid mon. And it goes well with our team. Let's move on. This is gonna be our 6th round pick. This is gonna be our fat Pokemon. Yeah, let's just get it. Uxie. So it gives us another hazard setter so that we can take pressure off of Miltank. Gives us another pivot with U-turn, which is great. And it gives us another heal bell mon. Overall, this mon is really fat. It has base 130 in each defense, which is really good. And it gets U-turn, which makes it a great pivot. It gets great coverage, so you can run like Ice Punch for things like Lando, so you can counter lead it. And overall, it's really solid, and it loves the Wish support from Sylveon. And it forms a pretty solid wall core with Sylveon and Miltank, because it's weak to dark. Sylveon resists that. Miltank's weak to fighting. This and Sylveon resists it, so it's a decent wall core. It gives us another rock setter. Overall, it gives us a solid mon, and it gives us trick room potential with mons like Sylveon, Scissor, and Kare Acosta. So overall, it is really solid, and yeah, it's just solid. It's solid. And the last part in our fake draft plan is we're gonna need more removal because we drafted Talonflame. So we're gonna want another removal. The only type we don't have is fighting, and the only fighting types that get removal are the Hitmons and Pheromosa and Arceus fighting, which we don't want. We don't want any of those. Hitmonlee and Hitmontop would have gone by now. I tried not to be too like, oh, this mon's gonna fall really far in this video. Like some of these, with Scissor and Donphan and Rotom, you might not get these this late, but I tried not to be too crazy with that. And so we're not gonna get a fighting type. That's gonna be the only type our draft doesn't have. And we're gonna get a Defogger, and we're gonna get Skuntank. So Skuntank, it gives us a physical poison type, as opposed to Gengar, who is special. It gives us more priority, and now half our team has priority, which is fantastic. And it gives us a Pursuit Trapper, which Zoroark is not. So it fills in a couple roles we didn't have, and it gives us another Defogger. So yeah, we built around the Defogger. We picked around the Defogger. So overall, if you look to the right, we have removal, 3 removal, 3 clerics, 4 hazard setters, 6 priority mons, 5 pivots, 5 wall breakers, 4 sweepers, and 3 revenge killers. It's pretty well balanced. And our team overall looks pretty solid. And this might have just seemed like a draft analysis video, but I hope it kind of helps with making a draft plan just in general, and learning things like that. And yeah, I hope it helps with that. And yeah, I will go over some more of the complex stuff in another video, like things like dealing with getting sniped, overpriced mons and price drafts, or tiered drafts, over tiered mons, and yeah, those are the 2 biggest things. But I think this should help very just with basic draft plans. What you want to do is just pick a mon or two to build around, and then fill in as many boxes. Be aware of your typings and weaknesses, and be aware of your speed tiers. Those are just the main things, and I hope I went in depth enough. And yeah, I will see you all later with the part 2 to this video, and with NPC content, and soon SBL content, because we're doing the draft soon. But yeah, peace.